Very good afternoon, everyone. What a tremendous honor it is to have our distinguished minister with us here in the ancestral home of UWI, Mona campus, and our PS, Dr. McLean. I can share with you that each time I find myself in difficulty and I go down to the Ministry of Education to seek help, I am sitting between the PS and the minister, laying out a view that would hopefully be attractive to their own thinking. This is a special moment for us to have Minister here, because we are currently operating on a strategic plan that rolls the wicket for the minister to score lots of runs. This is our task, to roll the wickets, and our strategic plan is precisely that, the AAA plan. And I wish you to imagine the university looking at the challenges facing this region. The first A in our AAA is that we need to radically upgrade access to higher education, professional training, and skills development. So this is an access issue. The second A is the alignment, bringing into alignment the functions and objectives of the university with the strategies and the visions of our government. That there should really be no space between how a government is imagining the transformation of economy and society and the role that the university plays within that vision. And the third A of our strategic plan, the third pillar, is agility. That we need the university, as well as all of our stakeholders, to be agile, that when there is an opportunity, to be agile in pursuit of it. Not to waste opportunities, but to adjust, be agile in order to grasp a particular moment. And it is in this context that the minister's intervention this afternoon will speak about his vision for access, how more of our bright young people in Jamaica, how he can capture the energy and the creativity of the masses of young Jamaican people to give them access. And how it is his thinking to ensure that these strategies are in alignment with his ministerial thinking in respect of his portfolio. But we already know that he is a very agile man, so we don't have to discuss that. He is known for that. He's a man of the people. He has a long track record of public service. He understands the societal needs to move Jamaica into the second phase of nation building. And therefore, we are extremely pleased to have him as our principal minister in the area of higher education. But also, too, he would be concerned with ensuring that there is efficiency at the various levels of the educational system. Because we understand this to be a house. We have our primary schools, the base of our building. We have the middle floors, which are our secondary schools, and we have the top floor, which is our tertiary sector professional training. But it is one structure, and any problems in any part of that structure will affect all the challenges in all the other areas. And we are in this together. Primary, secondary, tertiary, it is one system, it is one structure, it has to work efficiently, so we have to work together. And the university, of course, has to be seen with its sleeves rolled up, down in the basement, helping minister to fix the problems at the primary and the secondary level. In this context, then, of our strategic plan, our minister has been looking at the resources available to him, He has been looking at his vision to democratize access to higher education, to empower more families, to empower all communities, and to create a culture of equity within the system. Equity for everyone, every Jamaican citizen, equity for everyone. These are the issues I would wish to comment upon, to allow the minister to give us his vision, his strategy, and his sense of purpose. So welcome everyone to this press conference, my distinguished colleagues, of course my PS, and whom I am so very pleased because she's worked so hard. One of the other hats I wear is chairman of CXC, and her CXC years have been a shining light on the hill to all of us in CXC. So we've had a long history of working together. She really is a special resource. And of course, our distinguished principal, who has made such a powerful impact in short time. We were speaking a few days ago about principles, how the principle must be seen to have in one hand a spanner and a screwdriver to tighten up the system so that the campus is more efficient. It's a tightly organized machine, but on the other hand, a telescope, because he has to be looking into the future. And spanner in one hand, telescope in the next. Efficiency in one hand, vision in the next. But we are working these things together, and our dean, of course, very, very distinguished. We know Dean Paul, a man who has erupted through the medical faculty as the leader of the present and the future. Wonderful, wonderful, efficient, and ethical man. And of course, our brand new PS. Well, we don't.
Brand new PS.
Well, we call him the PS, you know, because there's a thing about registrars, but they're really the PS of the system. And he is our registrar stroke PS. And let me tell you, if in doubt, go back to the basics. He is a farmer. He is a man who specializes in agriculture, management, technology, sociology, the root of the nation, the base of the nation. And that is why he and the minister have this natural understanding. So welcome to everyone, and principal is back to you, and you will take us from here.
Thank you very much. I also introduce our deputy principal, Professor Ian Boxhill. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will now ask the dean to lay out the case why this intervention was necessary in the first instance.
Thank you very much, Registrar. Honorable Minister Samuda, Vice Chancellor Beckles, Permanent Secretary Dr. McLean, Principal Weber, colleagues, members of the press, students. It's my pleasure to say a little bit about our medical school and the context of our medical school. So UE here at Mona, we have the oldest medical school in the region, and we also have the best medical school. I say that with confidence. We are 71 years old, in fact, well going on, we're aging very quickly. But we have over the years seen an emergence of a number of what we call offshore schools coming into the Caribbean. The last count, it was just over 50 offshore schools. And regardless of what they do, they cannot catch up with UE. We are accredited by the Caribbean Authority for Accreditation in Medicine and the Health Professionals. Our accreditation is strong. But more so, the evidence of our status is that our graduates are serving very well in the Caribbean for many years with distinction, and they're also serving all over the world. Globally, we can really say UE is not only a Caribbean medical school, but it's a global school. I know, Vice Chancellor, our mission, our vision is to be a global university rooted in the Caribbean. And I think the medical school is certainly one operation that has already proven that vision for the university. Now, we have a 5-year program. The MBBS program is what we deliver for training physicians. It's a 5-year program, and we receive students from all over the Caribbean. Currently, we take a maximum of 280 students per annum in our medical school. And those students come from across the region. Some are international outside of the Caribbean, a few. And we also have, within the Jamaican context, of that 280, we take 160 Jamaicans. Traditionally, the government of Jamaica has sponsored medical education. We're very grateful for that. Over the many years, the funding, primarily for the MBBS program, was supported by the students who pay 20%, and the government would do their part in sponsoring those students. And government has sponsored up to 40 students over the years. But the university in its own, I should say, as a gracious administration, we have always stretched and taken way above the 40. But it's challenging because we have to manage the program, we have to deliver, continue to keep the quality up there. And so in 2005, under the then Dean Owen Morgan, we started what we call the full fee paying program for the Faculty of Medical Sciences, for the MBBS program. So in 2005, Dean Morgan and the principal and the higher administration decided that we'll expand access by allowing students who wanted to do medicine but couldn't get in under the sponsored cohort because of the limitation, that we would increase the access by allowing persons to pay what we call the full fee, the full cost of the program. And that was followed, in fact, that grew and expanded very well under Dean Archibald MacDonald, who was our former principal. And today, the full fee paying program, it's alive and well. We have, of the 160 Jamaicans who come into you each year, we take just about, as we said, we have 40 government sponsored, but on average, we take about 50, 55 students as government sponsored students. And the remaining little over 100 students are eligible to come in under the full fee paying program. So we've expanded access using that route. The cost of the full fee paying program is $28,000 US per annum. And that, to put it in context, that's really pretty much, we have looked at the costing of training a physician. It involves a lot of basic medical science training, a lot of hospital clinical training, technology. We have sites all across Jamaica now where we have colleagues involved in the delivery of this training. And so medical education it's a costly venture. Now, let's not escape that. It's a costly venture. Medical schools across the world, if you look at the tuition of the quality medical schools like UWI, folks are paying between $30,000 to $50,000 US per annum. So having said that, and putting that in context, what we find is that there are a number of students who have difficulty paying that, and we can understand that, who have difficulty finding funds for the full fee of the program. We have just over 1,000, on average, 1,000 applicants to the program per year. So this program is in high demand. I mean, as dean every year, I'm always taken up with the numbers of parents and students who come to my office and are saying, my child wants to do medicine, always wanted to do medicine, wants to do nothing else. The parent is very supportive, but they're finding it difficult to fund their education. And what makes it even harder for me as dean, many of these students are actually high-performing students. They're coming in with the top CAPE grades or the top bachelor's degree GPA, and they're finding it difficult to pay within that component. So of the 1,000 applicants, we would take, for the traditional government-sponsored places, we rank students by their academic performance, we rank them by their co-curricular activities, non-academic scores, and we'll fill that 40, 50 cohort out of that 1,000. But in that 1,000, we have easily about 200 plus students who are performing at the highest level. We're talking about, in our culture, you do CAPE these days and you say, how many ones you got? So we have a little over 200 students with straight ones, and many of them straight A profiles, high-performing students who have a challenge getting into that limited government-sponsored cohort. We do our best, and so we offer places in the full fee section, but at the end of the day, not only those from that 200 I'm talking about, but many from the 1,000 who qualify for entry still are unable to afford that fee for the full fee paying. So really that's the context. What I'm saying really is that we have an excellent medical school the university, the faculty is committed to training, continuing to train top physicians to serve Jamaica, the Caribbean, to serve the world. And we have limitations in the context of access, given the demand, and given this growing demand and this very strong demand for a high-quality program. So that's really the context, ladies and gentlemen, that I'd like to share with you.
Thank you very much, my former highly qualified and able permanent secretary. I will always view Donovan as the ultimate permanent secretary. And congratulations on your appointment. I think the university will benefit from his wisdom and experience and his manner of discharging his responsibilities. It's a great addition to your faculty. I, ladies and gentlemen, met here recently, Vice Chancellor. By the way, I'm not known to go into long introductions. So if you must pardon me if I depart from the protocol that we have all become so accustomed to. Last week I met with the officers at the university to discuss the financial challenges facing some of our students who want to access the university's medical program. That was a very significant meeting for me because, Vice Chancellor, you recall that we met a few months ago, a couple of years ago, when I came to the graduation of what Professor Eldermeyer referred to as my daughter's graduation. You remember that? And this is the story of a young girl who entered medical school on a hope and a prayer. Because when she came to my office and asked for help, she didn't have any money at all. And her mother scraped up the last set of funds that they had saved and put down as a deposit on her coming in. And thank God she got through the door. But that was just opening the door and stepping in. She had to there now face an enormous cost of over $2 million, I recall at the time, 2.4 million or something like that. Faced with those challenges, we set about trying to assist her and get the necessary funding for her, knowing that it was a long haul, 5 years. But she was determined. Coming from a religious background, I could see that she had the commitment. And I say that to reveal my thoughts on youngsters who go into medicine. I think medicine is a calling. For them, medicine is not an option. They don't go in to try to become a doctor, and in the event they go on to something else like liberal arts or engineering or some other area. Their sense of determination and commitment to conclude their studies in medicine and to excel is something that is legendary for our students and our professionals in the field in Jamaica. With that having been said, it's not very easy for anyone to convince me that in the position that I am in, there is very little that could ever be done to prevent me from making it possible to facilitate as many youngsters wishing to do medicine, especially those from challenged communities where the opportunities for them are not always open. And for them to get to this point where you're talking about excelling academically to be considered, let alone to be admitted, they would have traveled a journey that is fraught with obstacles far beyond what other full-paying students have traveled. That road for them is a rugged road. And I'm very happy that you made mention of and you made reference to the term equity. Because it is my objective, it is my ambition, it is my commitment to bring about a greater sense of equity in the educational system of Jamaica. Let me let me say right from the outset that many of us in these hallowed halls and in this environment of higher learning oftentimes overlook the fact that we are actually, in terms of education, we are living in two Jamaicas. And the portion of Jamaica that is largest is among those who have no opportunities educationally to ever get through the doors of this facility. Not because they are inherently unable to acquire the knowledge necessary, but because of the challenges that they are confronted with, some of the obstacles that they have to endure to be able to apply themselves, and are denied the fulfillment of their human rights and their God-given talents because of the circumstance of their birth and their upbringing. And I am totally committed to any effort that will bring about an upliftment and an opportunity for people who fall into that category. We already sponsor 55 students in each cohort by paying 80% of their fees. We have now taken the decision to fund an additional 47 students who will start the university's medical program this year. This through the goodness of my able, and as you put her, second-ranking permanent secretary, Dr. McLean, who has made provisions to underwrite the costs of this effort by providing $1.316 million US per annum, or $177.66 million per annum. An assessment will be made to ascertain the financial needs of these students, because this is a facility that is focused on giving persons without financial facilities to get the kind of training that we're talking about. Of the 47 additional students who will be funded, the ministry will pay the full cost associated with the program for the students with the greatest need, those students with the greatest need, at a cost of $28,000 US per student. We will also pay 80% of the fees for the rest of the 47. So it's a combined thing, but for the ones who are in greatest need, have the talent, but the door hasn't opened for them yet. We have just cracked it, and as time develops, we expect to enlarge it, and we'll have to build into the structure more doors, because this is not the end, this is where we begin. This cohort will be funded for the full 5 years of the program, provided they meet established criteria. Students in other years of the medical program with demonstrated financial need will also receive some from the government at varying levels. So we're not saying that because you are able to finance part that you are abandoned by the government. Our objective is to get as many of our Jamaican students able to become qualified medical doctors. Applicants, of course, must be Jamaican nationals. Only applicants with matriculation qualifications in the 97th percentile will be considered. Now, I want to pause there just to illustrate the journey traveled by these children who don't have, not coming from a background of wealth, affluence, special assistance, special tutoring. These are persons coming from very challenged environments, and yet they come here knowing fully well that in order to get into the program, they must fall in the 97th percentile to be considered. It's quite remarkable.
Best of the best.
Absolutely. Former past beneficiaries, students from inner city communities and poor rural communities will be given priority. Beneficiaries will be bonded by the government of Jamaica. So, purpose of that, of course, and I know I don't even have to ask, I know that the gratitude that will be extended by giving back some of what the country has done for you will be done by these graduates. Beneficiaries are also required to maintain the GPA of 2.8 to maintain the scholarship. So it's not just a question of the challenge getting in, but it's a question of staying in. Because whilst we will assist financially, that's half the partnership. The other half of the partnership is the performance and the commitment to work hard to achieve the levels that are required by this great institution, to not only to train the students to a very high level, but to maintain the international reputation of the school. It's very important. But you know, Vice Chancellor, I had to consider carefully a couple of things when we were looking at the possibilities of making this happen. And one of the things that we're preoccupied with in the Ministry of Education today is our insistence on proper fiduciary the discharge of proper fiduciary responsibilities. These funds belong to the people. And more people better understand that. These funds belong to the people of Jamaica. They're taxpayers' funds. And even if we are given assistance along the way, it is ultimately belonging to the people of Jamaica. So this gesture on our part as stewards of those funds demand of us a level of accountability, responsibility in the way we discharge our obligations in the management of those funds. And not only in medicine, but across all the faculties, all the various disciplines at the university, we must manage our affairs properly. In the ministry, Permanent Secretary will confirm, we have established systems, we have put systems in place that demand accountability, where we have regular monitoring meetings. Only yesterday evening we had an interesting one, and she had a follow-up today. I hope she will brief me on it as we go along. But we monitor everything we do. We ensure that it is done by the letter of the law, figuratively speaking, but the constraints placed on the departments and so on to adhere to the principles of good fiduciary management is critical, because we are not a wealthy country and we have journeyed a tremendously difficult and long road to get where we are economically in this country. And nothing must cause us to pause or to reverse on our efforts. We cannot. We must go forward and we must grow from strength to strength. So as a minister responsible for education, I have to play my part. And part of playing that part is to interact closely with the university so that there can be some assurance to our stakeholders, that is, John and Mary Smith outside, that we are handling their funds in a proper and responsible way. It is not an option to make decisions that are not founded in the preparation of budgets that are to be adhered to, and if there is to be a variation, it must be through consultation. That is what I insist on at the Ministry of Education. And we have traveled quite a distance, and the Permanent Secretary is someone who has bought into that as a principle and a means by which she intends to carry the ministry forward from strength to strength. You cannot fail with that approach. As my dad said when I was young, and I told him this story everywhere I go, I try to tell a little story. He said, if you get a deal at a quarter the price of the value of the item, and he happened to have used a Cadillac, and the man was offering a Cadillac for $1,000, but you only had 500, the very most you could do is to say, it is cheap, but you can't make the purchase. And you ought not to put yourself in debt in order to take advantage of a deal that you cannot afford. The same must apply in everything we do. We may want to do something. It may be very attractive. It may be almost deemed to be necessary. We can't do without it. But if it is not affordable, we must forego it. We must recoil, plan again, come back when we are better prepared to deal with it. But we cannot run the risk of failure. Failure financially would be an international disaster because the impact the university has made over the world is at such an enormous level that we have to continue growing on a sound basis, Vice Chancellor.
Indeed.
And you have, based on the information that has been made available to me, you recall that I signaled my concern about aspects of the financial statement when I was on a video conference in Barbados when I addressed the conference. I have followed up on it, although not to the great knowledge of everybody, by looking at where we are with the university in terms of its financial management. And I'm satisfied that there are lots of things that need to be corrected. A lot of things that need to be corrected and corrected immediately. I have embarked on a program of activity within the Ministry of Education, working with the most powerful organization that serves the ministry, the Jamaica Teachers Association. And I'm on record as committing to be guided by the principles of collaboration, cooperation, and openness. There's nothing to hide if you're doing it right. There's no need to be apprehensive about any action that any of us take at any level if it's being done correctly, through consultation and with a buy-in from the leadership with whom we serve. And that is the basis on which the Ministry of Education will operate. And as your ATM, as it is emerging right now, this ATM has closing hours. And it depends on the level of support that it gets as to whether it will remain in that location. So I'm advising you, my dear registrar, my dear principal, my friend the registrar, dean of medical, and the vice chancellor, please, please, let us work together and see to it that nothing we do compromises the continued success of this great institution that has brought us here. Let us not do anything to damage that. With those few words, I leave you with the greatest amount of optimism, and I know that these children are going to benefit and play a tremendous part. The only thing I would like to leave with you also is, let us not think of training these kids only for Jamaica. Let us think of expansion of the medical faculty and the facilities, because we have a product that is world-renowned and envied by most. Let us build on it, enlarge it, and give every child an opportunity so that having gotten a degree in medicine from the University of the West Indies, they can take their place in any country of the world and bring us greater wealth and reputation. Thank you very much.
Officer, Ms. Winnie Berry. Give her a hand, please. perhaps more importantly, the principal finance officer in the ministry, who I know will be in touch to get these funds, Ms. Sonia Panton. I know I'm sure the principal has a 1.3 million thank you to say.
Thank you very much, Chairman Stanbury, and thank you, Minister, for having trained Dr. Stanbury so well so that he could now come and share with us at the University of the West Indies. Honorable Minister, Vice Chancellor, Professor Hilary Beckles, PS Dr. McLean, Deputy Principal Boxill, Dean of Medical Faculty, Dr. Paul, Deans, members of the Mona Campus Senior Management, members of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, students, recipients, members of the media, good afternoon to you all. Medicine has always been a flagship of the UWI Mona Campus. We started with medicine in 1948 with 33 students. There's always been strong competition to get into that faculty, and today we are seeing the window of opportunity opening for some who would have qualified but may not have been able to access. To you has come a great opportunity, and I know you will grasp that opportunity with both hands. I'd like to thank the Minister, first of all, for access. And that is not just access for these students, although I'll come back to that. It's access to him. Because when we called in our moment of need, recognizing that there were students who needed to have access, he was available. So thank you very much, Minister, for being accessible. Thank you also for communication, in that you were able to hold a frank discussion with us. We put our cards on the table without fear, and you were able to decipher what our needs are, and in fact, to help us recognize some of the things that we had that we weren't using, and some of the things that we thought we had that we now needed assistance with. Access is an important part of developing what we do at the university, and access to those who are needy is even more important. As we align what we do within the university with the government and the private sector, it meets our second area of alignment. And of course, I will commend the Minister and the Ministry on agility. No one can and should ever say that this ministry moves slowly. The discussions we held were less than 10 days ago, and here we are at a press conference 10 days later, being able to walk on $177 million. Thank you very much, Minister and Ministry. The 47 students who are eager and ready to take this opportunity to their maximum, for you the door has been open. And I'm very pleased, Minister, that you have opened the door not just for those who are entering this year, but there are some second years, some third years, some fourth years who are 1 year away from completion, but are having difficulty. This offer opens the last little window they needed to complete. So you are helping many cohorts all at the same time. And in terms of cohorts, think about it. You are helping an individual. You're going to change their lives. That's going to change their families. That will change their communities. And that's going to change all of our world. I wouldn't worry about the bond if I were you, young recipients, because a bond is a guarantee that you have a job when you're done, and many do not. But it gives you also an opportunity to give back. And more than anything else, you have been given an opportunity which I know you will embrace. I know you will take advantage of, and you will make yourself proud, your families proud, this university proud, and the ministry proud for having taken this bold step. I'd like to thank the Minister and the Ministry for all they have done, and I know that this is the beginning of a wonderful continuous relationship where we can talk about other possibilities of helping other students in other faculties to go other places. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, I'm Shamari Collins.
Good afternoon, I'm Kiwayne Howell.
Minister Samuda, Principal Professor Weber, Press Secretary Dr. McLean, Vice Chancellor Sir Beckles, Dean of the Faculty of Medical Sciences Dr. Paul, specially invited guests, members of the press, fellow students. It is my pleasure to confer to you all a pleasant afternoon. Now, I have been called upon to give the response on behalf of the student awardees for this cohort. It was an unexpected thing. I was only informed of it around 5 or 10 minutes prior to the commencement of the ceremony, so this is all extemporaneous. But what I can say is that I'm very appreciative of this opportunity, as prior to this endowment, I had no real idea and no concrete plan in place to get into the Faculty of Medical Sciences. As was stated during Dr. Paul's presentation, medicine costs $28,000 US, and unfortunately I was not able to get the subsidy as a result of some extenuating circumstances that are going on at present. So I would have had to garner the full fee as a full fee paying student, and hailing from a humble family from humble means, and I'm in the community, I don't have $28,000 US put on in the bank, and I wasn't able to source it prior to the commencement of this academic year. So what I did was I went into my second choice, which is science technology, as these my fellow students here have done. So I was doing sci-tech classes starting Monday, and I had some today as well. But thanks to this opportunity, I'm now able to springboard the commencement of my dream of becoming a medical doctor. And thank you. And I'm able to move on to matriculate to the MBBS program. After 5 years, I'll graduate and become a general surgeon by the grace of Jehovah, and thanks to this endowment, and then eventually achieve my actual ultimate goal of specializing in neurosurgery. So once again, I just have to say thank you very much. I can definitely say that on behalf of all the student cohort, we are extremely appreciative of this opportunity, and we hope that you will persist in your commitment to helping students to actualize their dreams and their goals, and help to make Jamaica a better, stronger, more unified society. Thank you.
I think we have to commend you that you have been able to do it spontaneously without a script. And I don't know, if I was in your position, I would have been so overwhelmed, probably I couldn't talk. But Godspeed to you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all. I know that everybody here made a tremendous sacrifice over VC. Again, they're just literally coming off a plane. We have our matriculation ceremony in less than an hour. So it's really been a busy day, so we thank you all for coming. If anybody from the media has a question or two, we'll entertain. We won't be long because I said we have to go on to our matriculation ceremony. But I'm sure somebody might have a question here.
How long is the bond? Because that wasn't said.
Perhaps you should ask PS.
Okay, the bonding period is expected to be for not more than 5 years. And that's the standard that we use for all scholarships through the ministry.
Wonderful.
And it will work just as bond always will over the years.
Just
to be a little bit details about how
okay,
it will work.
so the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, that ministry is the ministry that is responsible for the finalization of the bonds. So once the students are registered, the ministry will obtain the relevant information, and we will guide the students in ensuring that the official bonding documents are completed, duly verified and signed, and of course these will be preserved until they have completed the program, and then there will be the monitoring to ensure that they serve the bonds.
Whilst we're here focusing on medicine, I want to indicate that we are going to be looking at extending it, broadening it to include other areas, especially in the areas of science, technology, IT, and engineering. We're going to look at extending the facilities so that all students with those aptitudes can participate on this basis.